Hello YouTube. Been at least 2 years since I updated this. So this is where the easy outdoor atmospheric wood boiler's at. This is coming up, gonna be the third winter. Of course, I didn't start it till sometime in like December last year, 2 years ago. In the videos that I already had posted, episodes 1 through 5. I made a bunch of modifications since then. I still don't have it where I like it, except maybe I do this year. I have to. It's still like 60 degrees here during the day, mid-November 2023. So a lot of stuff is done temporary-ish and subject to change. But let me walk you through where I'm at. This is the original firebox here. I added this damper here. Since the original video, really don't actually use it that much, but I thought it would help and I haven't taken it off. I'm thinking about changing that one this year. I tested a different style damper, which you'll see later, and I'm thinking I'm gonna end up switching this to that style. But you can see, same firebox. I actually cut it back out and lowered it 7.5 inches from where it originally was last year. Part of my modifications. It did improve the performance, but not enough. This is a 40-gallon firebox. This piece of metal here, it's just kind of a baffle that I added so I could run it with the door open, and sometimes when you're starting it up from nothing you get a lot of smoke, and when you see the second firebox it basically put all that smoke up into the other firebox. So I added that. It's just vice gripped on there. So alright, another thing I added in the first year was this. This is just a pipe. It went through a few modifications over time, but this basically just got 2 outlets on it and goes into this little hole you can see here, and it hooks up to this like a hair blow dryer. I'd buy the cheapest hair blow dryer that you could get and kind of duct tape it onto this with some extensions so I didn't melt it. You can see the ends of this, I've changed how these were a few times, just using the cheapest materials possible, but they actually end up getting so hot they start melting. But when this version of it, originally I just had these pipes kind of open-ended with a 45 on them in the somewhat direction I wanted the air to go. It wasn't good enough that year anyways. So I just added these random pieces to the end to kind of get it pointing a little bit differently. And I also tacked kind of a pyramid made out of washers on the end to diffuse the air even more. And it did really well, but in this current setup, at least in these warmer temperatures, I'm not needing to run this air to get enough heat out of the wood. So I've had this thing running about 2.5 hours. I let it go out overnight. It was down to about 100 degrees. Currently I'm pumping into the house about 150. It's been 2.5 hours or so since I started it up from nothing. So another modification I made in year 2. I apologize I didn't make an update video, but I had a lot going on at the time. I added a second chimney onto that firebox when I lowered it. I was thinking maybe I wasn't getting enough airflow out of the chimney. And you can see the top ones kind of run at an angle. I don't remember if it was 15 degrees or what it was. It was whatever worked out so I could reuse the old hole. and only had to make one hole. I still had to patch it. The original hole with the cutout wasn't a perfect fit, so I still had some work to do to make it work, but I was putting less holes in the tank. And actually there's a baffle on the end of the new pipe. I didn't put it on both in case that was a problem, but yeah, this angled pipe with a slight baffle on the inside of the firebox that I can't show you performs the better out of the two. This lower pipe, I'm guessing it has to do with because it's sitting lower in the firebox, but it collects a lot more creosote. It'll plug up over time. So you can see once in a while I get a drip here. So there is a fair amount of condensation depending how dry the wood you're running is. I'm currently running what they sell as softwood slabs. I'm pretty sure it's mostly all what we call in the Midwest popple. I think the correct name is poplar. Some people call it aspen, but we call it popple here. So it's actually a hardwood, but barely. And the place that sells the slabs calls it softwood. So I'm running that. I was running mostly oak mixed with maple and a little bit of ash. And I found a deal on these slabs, so I'm running that at least during these high temperatures, but I feel like these slabs are performing better. Then I got a topside thermometer here. It's probably hard to see. I've cladded this thing since you last saw it on 5 of the 6 sides. I still didn't clad the bottom, mostly just because I want to use kind of free rinky-dink materials. I don't want to use anything valuable for it, but yeah, I ran out of kind of stuff that worked well for support structure for cladding. But this cladding's kind of 50-50 between old hot water heater jackets, real thin metal, and then steel siding. I had some short sections of 3-foot steel siding. These are kind of bent up out of water heater jackets, and then the roof I added a pitch to help it drain. There's insulation, of course, under all of this, and it is just R13. I got 2 layers of it on the top and only 1 on the sides and the bottom. But this roof, if snow falls on it, it takes several days for the snow to melt off of here, so the insulation works well. That's my vent pipe. I just have a can sitting over the top to try and keep any birds or some whatever animal might want to go in there out, but it doesn't allow it to build pressure, which is important because this tank is not meant to be a pressure vessel. And the top firebox only has 1 chimney. I made it smaller, and I only had enough material to make this one with a single chimney, but so far it seems to work well. The concept here is similar to electric hot water heater, where you got an upper and lower element. I know not all of them do, but this is similar to the upper lower concept. So the upper one's more like a boost. When I let the temperature get down, if I go away for too long or sleep too long or whatever, I can run both the lower and the upper firebox and get the temperature up to a more appropriate level faster. It seems like it was an idea that works. If I'm not pulling heat out into the house, I stop the circulator pump. I can get this thing boiling in under an hour and a half, burning those softwood slabs. So it would take me pretty much all day with just the one firebox to get it that hot, just by comparison. So I haven't run it a winter with the second firebox yet, but I had tested the single firebox when I lowered it, and it gained, it wasn't consistent hour to hour, but 15 to 30 degrees of temperature gain per hour, starting it from all the way cold to trying to get it to boil is what it would do with only the single 40 gallon. This top one, I didn't calculate the volume, but it's 8 inches shorter, so it's probably somewhere between 30 and 35 gallons. Still the same diameter, which is 16 inches. So I tried a little bit of different variation on the door. I still put the damper into the door. I still haven't made the damper fancy with a handle or any kind of stop, but it's just basically this plate can slide in and out of here like this during the day, and I'm still trying to build heat in there. I keep it basically all the way open, and then side view, it's just kind of taper like that. That's a 4-inch opening. You can kind of see up into there. I'll show you from the back side. There's kind of what the inside of it looks like. So it's got quite a bit larger air opening than the lower damper, and I seem to be under the impression with running it that I do need that large of a air opening if I'm going to draft naturally. When I was running the diffuser pipe with the forced air inlet with the blow dryer, that weird Y pipe I showed earlier, entire thing performed differently. It was literally so hot it would melt metal in there. It didn't melt the jacketing, I assume, because if you know physics, if you got water on something, it can't get over 212 degrees unless it's under pressure, is why it didn't melt my actual firebox. But like nails, if I was burning pallet wood, or even the actual pipe itself I was forcing the air through, it would melt. I have blobs of steel I pulled out of there. I couldn't believe I melted aluminum in there, which I knew I could do. But yeah, it gets insanely hot. But it wasn't hot enough. So yeah, that's how the door is. This is the top firebox. Real simple latch. I just kind of, a lot of this stuff I found, because I don't know what works and what doesn't, don't worry about quality, just slap it together and see what works. And I think that's basically everything you hadn't seen. You might not have seen this. So this is my outlet pipe. I think maybe my last video I just added that. And this is my return pipe. So you got supply to the house, return from the house, or supply to the boiler, however you want to put it. And I can drain from there. I could drain from there. If I want to, I could add more lines, but I haven't had the need to do that. If you were going to build one of these, maybe I would recommend not putting it directly under your firebox door, because stuff does fall on it, then the handles get all gross like this, but it's not a serious enough problem where I wanted to rework it. I think, I added permanent legs. I just had this thing sitting on CMU concrete blocks. Still not 100% certain I'm going to leave it where it's sitting now, but I wanted something a little bit better. Those blocks kind of wore out. And so yeah, these are just the pipe legs like any tank would get. The only part not insulated is this tiny little chunk here, and I probably will insulate that, but I didn't have any, didn't even have that small amount of insulation left in it. Seems like it works fine. So yeah, There's about 150 feet of baseboard radiator running off of this, and then one 40-gallon tank that is essentially just holding water from this boiler inside that tank in the house. I'm hoping to build a heat exchanger every time cheap or free materials that are appropriate come along. I haven't been able to get there in time or whatever, so I have some of the stuff but not enough to completely build it yet. But yeah, and it's finally working pretty well at heating the house. In the basement where I have all those radiators, it's nearly 80 degrees down there. So I think it was just a matter, the original problem, just the only 40-gallon firebox. I couldn't put enough BTUs into the water fast enough. And like I say, I can build heat in this thing while I'm pulling heat out. Last year, when I only still had the single, it was like I could not pull water out, circulate it through the house, and build heat at the same time. So I set up sort of a timer where it would shut off for different periods of time that I figured through experimentation what worked. And this year I can actually build heat and pull heat out at the same time, so there will be some learning there. And of course, once the weather gets a lot colder, my system will probably change again. But this is feasible. There's pretty much no money into the actual boiler section. The piping to the house, there's some money into that. There's a little bit of money into valves like you see down here. So if you're thinking about doing this, take what I learned with a grain of salt. I'm not an engineer. I did not do a bunch of calculations. I just kind of built it, saw what happened, adjusted, and it's all subject to change. But if I was going to invest money into actual materials, I would not want to just build it that way. I would make sure it's going to work first. But I'm getting closer to knowing, so hopefully this helps anyone in a similar situation. Sorry the video's so long. Thanks for watching.